And when I see and hear over and over again the assertion of complete inaccuracies that Ukraine is responsible for starting the war with Russia, there's so many of them, and they keep asserting these things, expecting us to believe that the climate crisis is a hoax invented by the Chinese, that windmills cause cancer, that coal is clean, and they try to assert with the force of power their own special version of alternative facts.
Yeah, but I guarantee that the side of the country that voted for Trump, they hear Nazi and they just go, oh, you're calling us Nazis? First of all, it's a bit of a false premise, as bad as they are. And also, it just says to them, well, you just hate us. And one thing I've learned in recent years is that the one thing that's more powerful than money is hate. When people hate you so much, and when they think you hate them so much, even the money goes out the window. Well, not that I think Trump is going to survive if he takes the economy down, but this idea that, well, you know, just to take a random example, you can't even break bread with them. We hate you so much that you're not even, you're deplorable and you're not worth having dinner with.
I know that you've been attacked on this, and I want to. Yeah. Has anybody heard anything?
I want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Hey. Why this beat so cold?
We will make America proud again. And you try to kill our we will make America wealthy again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, look who's breaking the internet once again. On President Trump. He's back again, you guys. Bill Maher. And he's with Al Gore. And humiliates him and fact checks him on President Trump. And having Trump derangement syndrome at its finest. The fear mongering, you know. Nazis, Hitler, the dictator, the big bad orange man. Threat to democracy. America's being destroyed. They want you to regret your vote. You know. What a disgrace, man. But Bill Maher just humiliated, embarrassed Al Gore. And I'm here for it, man. You know. But before we get in, I hope everyone is blessed, well, healthy, and that nothing but the best is going on in all you beautiful people's life, man. It's one love to the human race. If you're new here, join the family. But let's jump into this insane clip, man. You know, and it's breaking the internet everywhere. And we know the history with Bill Maher and President Trump and what just took place these last couple of months, this past election. Bill Maher went viral a lot this past election, and speaking on President Trump and bringing on so many individuals from the right, from the left, having amazing conversations, and seeing how Bill Maher just went to the White House and met with President Trump, and come to find out they kicked it off really well. And Bill Maher says he likes that guy. He likes President Trump. Yeah. And he even brought all the insults that Trump has said about him, and Trump signed the paper. And I believe that paper is going to be worth millions of dollars, you know. But it's just crazy to see how all this thing is played out, man. It really is, you guys. It really is. And the history behind it. Boy. Let's go and jump into this. I don't want them to take down my video, so we might have to go here and edit. Yeah, right there. Okay. We should be good. All right. Check this out.
We generally have the same view of the Trump administration.
Yeah.
You were in the news this week for invoking Nazis.
Well, I didn't do what J.D. Vance did and call Trump America's Hitler when he did that a few years ago.
You see that? You see?
did and called Trump America's Hitler when he did that a few years ago. I think there's a
what he actually said was, I think about Trump a lot, and he could be an asshole just like Nixon, or he could be America's Hitler.
Oh, that's accurate,
and I remember thinking, oh, so the good option is that he's just an asshole like Nixon?
Well, I think there's a big difference in comparing someone to Hitler on the one hand, which I don't do. I think that's a big mistake. And I said that in the speech that you're referring to. That's a unique form of evil that should not ever be compared to anything. But we are not living up to our responsibility to our Constitution if we don't remain alert to warning signs that we know from history, not only from the Third Reich, but from a whole series of strongman dictators.
Bunch of fear-mongering crap. Here it is. It doesn't stop, man.
When they start trying to tell people what to think, when they start trying to expand their power so that they push the Congress around, push the judiciary around, and try to consolidate dictatorship, the first steps on that road are ones that we should see as warning signs.
I know. I just think that when you use the word, I couldn't agree more, but I just think, you know, Nazi is a hard word to use with nuance.
Yeah.
so when you bring that word out, you know, I feel like they're the goat of evil. You know. And so it just conflates.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But if you look at what I actually said in that speech,
and you could tell Bill Maher in his body language ever since he met President Trump at the White House a couple of weeks ago. You can tell on his newer, not a lot of these newer clips and on his show, his body language and tone is very, very different. You know. But then again, he's been calling out the Democrat Party. Especially these last couple of months, a whole bunch, and calling out the woke ideology, all the too far left, the too woke crap, and why the Democrat Party is doomed, shot.
there was a group of German philosophers that went back after the war and conducted a kind of moral autopsy. And they said, one of them said that the first step on the descent into hell in that case was, and I quote, the conversion of all questions of truth into questions of power. They attacked the distinction between true and false. And when I see and hear over and over again the assertion of complete inaccuracies that Ukraine is responsible for starting the war with Russia. There's so many of them, and they keep asserting these things, expecting us to believe that the climate crisis is a hoax invented by the Chinese, that windmills cause cancer, that coal is clean, and they try to assert with the force of power their own special version of alternative facts.
Yeah, but I guarantee that the side of the country that voted for Trump, they hear Nazi and they just go, oh, you're calling us Nazis? First of all, it's a bit of a false premise, as bad as they are. And also, it just says to them, well, you just hate us.
Yeah. You know? You just can't make it up, man. I really love that right there. You know? Shut that down right there. In the bud, Bill Maher stuns Al Gore with brutal truth about why the establishment lost MAGA forever.
When I see and hear over and over again the assertion of complete inaccuracies that Ukraine is responsible for starting, that coal is clean.
Premise, as bad as they are. And also, it just says to them, well, you just hate us. And one thing I've learned in recent years is that the one thing that's more powerful than money is hate. When people hate you so much, and when they think you hate them so much, even the money goes out the window. Well, not that I think Trump is going to survive if he takes the economy down, but this idea that, well, you know, just to take a random example, you can't even break bread with them. We hate you so much that you're not even, you're deplorable and you're not worth having dinner with.
I know that you've been attacked on this, and I want to. Yeah. Has anybody heard anything about that?
I haven't read that.
What do y'all think of that, man? What do y'all think of that, man? And again, As we know, Bill Maher, again, like I said, it's his tone, his body language, his tone has been way different, especially after meeting with President Trump at the White House a couple of weeks ago, having dinner with him. We could pull that up too before we get out of here. And I love that he signed his paper. That was pretty amazing. But and even sitting down on his other podcast, little show, totally different, man.
Remember exactly what we were talking about, but it must have been something with the 2020 election, because
it says Bill Maher goes full MAGA.
I know he used to God. Many conversations swear to God, absent, at least on this night with this guy. Bob, Kid Rock, told me the night before, he said, if you want to get a word in edgewise, you're going to have to cut him off. He'll just go on. Not at all. I've had so many conversations with prominent people who are much less connected, people who don't look you in the eye, people who don't really listen because they just want to get to their next thing, people whose response to things you say just doesn't track, like, what? None of that with him. And he mostly steered the conversation to, what do you think about this? I know, your mind is blown, so's mine. Me about the nuclear situation, 88% of the uranium, but that I had supported him.
But people forget to understand, man. And that's why we knew he would. Trump is a human being, but again, they have assassinated his character. The fake news media won't ever tell us the truth. They won't tell us the full story. Lies, false fake headlines. They spin everything he says. They take a small clip and put it out there. They don't want to play the full clip. They put a small clip out there. The CNNs, the MSNBCs, the CBSs, the whole alphabet news. A disgrace, man.
Person who the night before the get pushed and I go through the. It's true. And he's Rock. 20 predicted away from him. I had supported him in how he thought this dinner was himself. In 40 years, I know. Well, there was all. Days of each other different. Bag, sick, sad, stone cold crazy.
It's one of my favorite parts right here.
Really a dumb guy, fired like a dog. His show is dead. It was 60. I brought this to the White House because I wanted him to sign it, which he did.
Amazing, man. It's crazy to see how this thing all played out. We'll put it up on the big screen. Let's put it up on the big screen. It's crazy to see how this thing played out, man. But there it is, man. Bill Maher, once again, breaking the internet and fact-checking, embarrassing, humiliating another person with Trump derangement syndrome. I know how you guys feel about Bill Maher. Some of you feel this way, some of you feel that way, but hey, here it is. But I do believe that that paper right there is worth millions of dollars. What do y'all think? Let me know in the comments section. I love y'all. God bless you and your family, and I will catch y'all in the next one, man. Peace and love, you guys.